not stopped hearing about Pablo since I've arrived in Perth.
He's a bit of a local hero on the scene. I do think this is going to be the toughest challenge he's probably faced here, up against Levi Jones-Leary, who obviously comes from a fabulous pedigree, but also at the same time, I was actually impressed by this kid's just absolute work ethic. I've never spoke to anyone who's dealt, who's taken jiu-jitsu as seriously as this guy has. He's already looking to patent and take that berimbolo technique that he loves so much.
I mean, yeah, he loves talking about, if you guys know anything about Levi Jones-Leary, which anybody who's watching this probably does, you guys are probably fans, he loves to talk about the Xanadu guard. He talks a lot about his specific entries into the back from what he calls the Xanadu guard. So I definitely think that whenever we see him on the mats here, we know that we're going to see a lot of inversions. We know that we're going to see a lot of back attacks, but I like seeing him settling into this top position. This is a little different than I think what we normally get to see from Levi.
Levi, coming into the fight, was told that Pablo's difficult to submit, and I think he's taken that as a bit of a personal challenge. That's his feelings. It certainly came across in the time I spent talking with him. I've trained with Pablo a lot over the years, and I've just been constantly impressed by the man's work ethic, his commitment to his game, his commitment to his craft, and his own orthodoxy. He can surprise you in terms of his approach and the way that he does things. He thinks deeply about this, and let me tell you, he would have prepared for this match and prepared for Levi specifically. I'm not sure Levi would have done that. I think he probably would have just come in thinking, I'm going to submit this guy, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, hard to say, right, what goes on in the mind, like in the weeks preparing for a match. But like I said, I haven't stopped hearing about Pablo since I've arrived. I've heard nothing but positive things about him, and his work ethic, like you were mentioning, and just his attitude and how he carries himself on the mats, and that he's really somebody that you want to, there are some jiu-jitsu black belts that you admire their jiu-jitsu, but you don't necessarily want to copy them in all aspects of life. And Pablo, I've heard the exact opposite. He's someone you want as a friend, a student, a teacher. So really great to see him have such an awesome opportunity against a high-level competitor. Definitely earned, and excited to see how it plays out. We've seen a bit of an exchange of top and bottom position now a couple of times. And, with a 15-minute match, there's definitely time to do that in the first couple of minutes to kind of feel out where the openings might be, where the weaknesses are, what can I take advantage of, what can I exploit, and also maybe where some of the danger zones are where you do not want to go.
You can see that Murillo pressure really coming through, and he's constantly threatening the back. Everything that he's doing is also leading towards the back. Pablo's in a bit of a position where he's being flattened out now. Not a good position for Pablo. He's very, very good off his back, but against a guy with this kind of experience, it's not a position you want to spend the entirety of the next 12 minutes in,
Yeah, and one thing we notice about Levi when he's in these top positions is his absolute insistence on not allowing for space. When he stabilizes positions, he does an excellent job of continuing to move forward. And even with that being said, we see Pablo able to have a little bit of a guard recovery. He's able to sneak his right knee inside and start to recover into this knee shield with his left leg, which is not a traditional knee shield where it's across the chest or the hip, but he's really able to bring his knee to the shoulder and almost the side of the neck to keep Levi's right arm at bay. So Levi combating that by bringing his right hand to the ankle and kind of swiping that knee shielded leg off.
Yeah, Pablo's style isn't orthodox, and that's the thing that catches people out sometimes. He will do something and go, no, I know what to do with this, and then next thing you know, he's up on a triangle or something else like that, or you're being swept. That's one part of the surprises of the game. It's what made him one of the best respected black belts in WA. Levi continuing to work his attempts to pass.
Yeah, Levi did a great job right now of going from a double under into a nice north-south. He was able to use his arms to secure the connection between the chests by blocking the hips and preventing the knees from coming back inside. So as he's passing through, instead of just rushing to that chest-to-chest connection, he's able to use his arms to block the hips so the knees can't come in, and then switching from that to an upper body control where now his forearms are locking Pablo's arm above his head so that he can't use that arm to frame away.
Not a good position to be in.
No, and it opens up a lot of submissions, right? Yeah. We see a lot of chokes and kimuras and back takes opening up from that kind of head and arm control. And it's interesting seeing here Levi kind of It looked for a moment like he was jumping over a submission, but I think he was actually just content with going back to bottom position and coming into a guard play.
I think you're right. I think he's enjoying himself a little bit up there, isn't he?
Yeah, we typically see Levi very heavy on attacking the leg on his right side, so his opponent's left leg. We see him elevate that leg there with his left shin, and that allows entries into either side, depending on what he's looking for. Very intricate leg work there. We see his right foot as a butterfly hook, very sticky on the inside of the thigh, allowed him to finish the sweep, come into the top position. And, notice how Levi doesn't go into the closed guard when he comes up on top. I think this is something that a lot of competitors start to learn as they advance through your experience. Anytime you come up from a sweep, if you can avoid it, you're right into passing. You're going to stay in that open guard position instead of diving into that danger zone.
Absolutely. I mean, it shuts you down a lot of times, especially these kind of pressure passing guys. If you end up in that, full guard position, it just shuts down what you're so good at,
Right. Saw a little bit of a look at a Kimura there from Pablo. That was definitely a nice option to start to threaten that left arm of Levi, because even though he didn't lock up full Kimura grip, it looked like he was close for a moment, but it did force Levi to address that and kind of switch directions for a moment before switching back again to the left and kind of looking for the back and the hips simultaneously here.
Yeah.
But smart, Pablo was able to stick that right hook in there, get his foot inside, and create just enough space to prevent that back take.
Yeah, and Levi doing well there just to disengage, take control of the leg, and pop out Pablo flattens back again.
Both players, interestingly, very comfortable in a supine position. We do see Pablo kind of pop up to a seated guard once in a while, but most of the time we see both of them very content playing completely flat on their back, which is indicative that they're both very comfortable with inversions, with this, this Berimbolo style game, this Kimura style game, right? That kind of connects, you can connect the Kimura to the legs, to the back, and those kinds of sequences. Whereas some players will completely opt to just stay seated in more of a seated guard. They don't want to be supine at all. So the reason I bring that up is because when you have players that have such similar comfortability on their back, you can kind of assume that the top player knows how to shut that guard down because they know what's needed in order to have a very effective supine guard.
It's all a question of technique, but also a question of body type as well, isn't it? You get people who have that static strength, that ability, and they be in that supine position. For those kind of players, isn't the best. But when you're these two gentlemen who are just obviously look like they have the ability to invert at any time, it's pretty comfortable there, and you can really see that in the exchanges.
Yeah, look at Pablo's insistence on keeping that frame of Levi's left arm away, or that crossface of Levi's left arm away. It was doing him. He was doing very well with that for a little while. He had two hands on the bicep, keeping that pressure off. And then Levi opted instead to switch it to an underhook with the left hand, which is still powerful, but it has plays a very different role than the crossface does. And so I think that this is a little bit better of a position than it could have been, concerning Pablo's point of view for the crossface sake. But it definitely doesn't mean he's out of danger. Levi has some very strong shoulder pressure regardless. His right arm, you can see, is hard at work, passing that leg to the other side in order to bring the knee across the belly. And at the same time, he's able to dig that underhook on the forearm, which he was looking to use to get to the mount or maybe attack a submission. But Pablo was able to create just enough space to recover and bring his legs back inside in the process. And that is the danger of advancing your position from side control to mount, is if you create too much space, your opponent is good at guard recovery, which clearly Pablo is, then you can end up back all the way in the open guard or the closed guard once again and have to reset the entire pass.
I would say that is actually probably Pablo's best skill, his ability
guard
to
recovery.
Guard recover from positions where you're thinking you probably shouldn't be able to recover his guard, and then next thing you know, he slipped underneath you.
So I guess that plays into the hard to submit role, right? Yeah, because we have seen Levi pass a number of times now.
Yeah, absolutely right, and now takes the back.
Yeah, see, this is definitely a big advancement for Levi. Right into a body triangle.
Switches the body triangle. Pablo's laughing there. I don't know whether he expected it or was enjoying it, admiring what had happened, or something else. Pablo looking to escape. back
Yeah,
on the
great
floor.
job, though, by Pablo
Yeah.
to escape his shoulders out just enough to peel Levi off the back. But now in a very heavy mount. And while Levi is known for his, Xanadu guard, Berimbolo, back take style, whenever we do see him in the mount, he has an excellent mount pressure. I mean, it's very, very impressive. We seldom see people recover after he is advanced this far. He can finish submissions from here, or a lot of times he ends up opening back takes.
Yeah, quite happy to give that position to secure a good side control.
Some turtling here from Pablo, but Levi takes that opportunity to jump over into a submission attack on Pablo's right arm.
Yeah.
Difficult to quite see what's going on due to the angle, but it's definitely locked on tight. We see Levi's body crunched in tight to keep everything nice and secure. Not sure what he said, but definitely some verbal action with the crowd.
It's just the isolation of the arm, isn't it? He's just looking to sort of separate that shoulder away.
I mean, you can transition. I'm interested to see what he's saying. You can transition this position into a lot of different submissions. There's a couple different options here, but not quite sure. I think it's going to depend on Pablo's response. I think that's why Levi's being a little patient.
Yeah, getting backed by an Australian crowd is probably a very unique experience, I must say. There's a couple of choice things flying around at the moment, but all in good spirits.
Is it all the crowd to Pablo, or is it Pablo to the crowd?
I have no idea.
I think that's both.
I have no idea. There's a conversation occurring right now anyway. 3.5 minutes left. Reached a little bit of an impasse right now. Levi looking to improve his submission position. Pablo sits and manages to escape.
Yeah, Levi with a strong right butterfly hook there. He was able to elevate that if he chose, but instead Pablo opts to, looked like he was going to step over. I don't know if he was stepping over just to clear the legs or if he was trying to look for some submission that we couldn't quite see.
And that unorthodoxy again coming into play. He does do things sometimes which surprise you, and it's often part of his strength.
And it's interesting, you got to imagine that over 10 minutes into a match, two competitors that, as far as I know, haven't gone together before in a match, are really starting to feel each other out in the sense that they're feeling each other out like they know what they're doing now, because I think they had a good idea of that coming into the match, but more in the sense that they're feeling their timing and their patterns, because many times competitors, especially high-level competitors, they'll repeat their same patterns over and over on both ends, and then what happens with that is one has a little bit of a faster learning curve than the other, and you either get better with your timing on it, or you get it better with your defense on it, or you start to see it coming a little bit sooner. And then, it can go either direction. So it's interesting, after somebody is in a match with another person for over 10 minutes, will that be more beneficial for Levi or will that be more beneficial for Pablo? It depends who is going to be picking up on that learning curve quicker.
Absolutely. Pablo's just picked the pace, or trying to pick the pace up a little bit. I think he knows he's probably had his guard passed a couple of times and is looking to try to recover that a little bit. But there is a chance for Pablo here. I mean, I've been very impressed by Levi, but also you cannot say that Pablo's been completely out of this match, can you?
No, not at all. He's done a great job at continuously recovering position and kind of stopping some of Levi's attacks and making sure that he's escaped from many dominant positions, very dominant positions. So what I'm wondering, though, is what exactly is the game plan or the mindset in saying, hey, I have been on the back foot for over 10 minutes now. What do I need to do in a minute and 20 seconds to make this match mine? Yeah,
and that's exactly right. We've seen a little bit of that in the last match, didn't we? It's like, what is your after two coming into this final minute? What can you do? And I think there's no question right now in terms of the passing, in terms of the control. Levi's got the edge at the moment, but, Pablo's in a position where he's got a minute left. What can he do? What can he do to try to unsettle Levi?
And you see a little bit of that now. He's looking for, I think with 1 minute left, he's definitely looking for some submission attempts. Potentially could be looking here for Kimura for some triangle action. Looked like for a moment he was going to pop his foot up, but now he opts for really some good far arm control, but not quite enough to prevent Levi from jumping over into the pass.
It's almost funny to say, but I think both men have enjoyed rolling with each other. It feels to me as if they're enjoying enjoying trying to unpick the technical challenge rather than, you know, going at all costs for the win, blood, guts, you know. It's more like enjoying testing each other's knowledge. I think Levi, it seems to me as if that's what's happening right now. I might be wrong on that, but
it's a big jumping through. That can happen a lot of times when someone's inverting, you kind of jump through to a crab ride, like to an immediate crab ride position. And he was able to use that to come up on top a little bit here into the mount.
Beautiful way.
Yeah, what a great 15-minute match here from both of these gentlemen. Really great as a treat it was really a treat as a spectator to watch all that technical advancement from both and to see all those exchanges. And I think it's safe to say that we know what's coming from the referee's decision, but it'll be interesting to see it solidified.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by judges' decision, fighting out of the red corner, Levi Jones-Leary! Pablo, that was an absolutely fantastic matchup. Talk us through what it was like being in there with Levi.
This is going to sound like an insult, but it's not, because it's always given as like a backhanded compliment. I expected him to be strong and I expected him to have a really good squeeze, but it wasn't the strength of the squeeze. Like when he was holding me, he wasn't pulling with everything he had. I thought he was pulling just enough and then he was reworking the hook. So it was just cool to see what like concentrating on taking it to the next technical level can be like. That, and in his interview, his friends told him that, oh, Pablo, like there was no other feedback besides, or maybe there was, I don't know. That guy's hard to submit. So there was a couple times when he was north-south and I was like, he's digging for double unders because he wants to take my back. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to let this guy submit me. Or at least I'm going to try.
Pablo, I mean, the thing is here, Levi is, you know, a world-class competitor, and you come in there today, and for me, I don't think you looked out of place. And obviously, being there, looking at your constant development over the last couple of years, it's just a pleasure to see you improve. It's a pleasure to see your performances, and you come out here, whether it's been jiu-jitsu, whether it's been MMA, you give it your absolute all, you put yourself into it, and, you know, the results are testament and credit to WA.
Thanks, guys. It actually means so much for you guys to come out and support events like this. Without you guys, we're not going to have this, so thank you very much.
Pablo, we look forward to seeing you again on future Battleground matches, and I wish you the very best for the evening. Thank you for your time. Levi Jones-Leary, what a performance. You showcased your jiu-jitsu, you said you were going to do that. What are your thoughts after that matchup?
Yeah, it was just, everyone was right, it's really hard to submit. like everyone was saying the whole camp, and I was like, nah, I'm going to be able to submit him, but so good, he's really, really top notch. So yeah, thanks so much, Pablo, for taking the fight. Really appreciate it. Yeah, just, you know, trying to put my techniques to work. Never taken any PEDs. I don't lift, so you know, I'm proud of my technique, how far it's come, especially with my passing and stuff. I'm grateful to Pablo for giving my passing a shout out and stuff. Also, thanks to my coach Murillo Santana in New York. But yeah, thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure fighting here in front of you guys this competition.
Levi, I want to ask you one more question before we let you go. You talked a little bit to me prior to this, but what's next for you?
Next is I want to become the first black belt world champion from Australia in the gi, so I'm just getting ready for that now.
So everybody, give it up for Levi Jones-Leary.